Hello, namaskar, and a very good evening to all the viewers watching our session out there. This is Simran Singh, and you're watching this special session on PMeVIDYA channel number 6, 9, and 12. You all know that we have our different mediums through which you all can participate in our sessions. You can comment in the comment section of NCRT Official. That is our YouTube channel. So it's around 5:30 p.m. on your watch, and it's Friday. So you all know that from 5:30 till 6:15 p.m. we have our special live telecast on school leadership and development, and we come up with certain important and interesting topics in our sessions with all our viewers. So you must be willing to know what are we going to discuss in today's conversation. Well, we are providing you more information on how to lead school transformation. So our title for the session is Leading School Transformation Cases from the Field. And providing us more information and insights into the conversation, we are also joined by two resource persons from the studio. So allow me to introduce you with our today's guest of the conversation. We have with us Dr. Suvita TV Mon, ma'am. Namaskar, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening. A very warm welcome in the session. Ma'am is serving as Assistant Professor from National Center for School Leadership, NEPA. Then just adjacent to her is Dr. Charu Malik. Namaskar, ma'am.
Namaskar.
We welcome you in the conversation. Ma'am is also serving as Assistant Professor from National Center for School Leadership, NEPA. So in this live interactive session, if you have any of the queries, then feel free to write down to us in the comment section of NCRT Official. Besides, here is a contact number that is flashing on your screens. You can also give us a call at 8800440559 and some specific mail IDs for 6, 9 and 12 PMeVIDYA channels are there. It's a dth.class12@ciet.nic.in. So let's begin our conversation on leading school transformation and about the cases from the field. So in the first place, Suvita ma'am, I would request you to please apprise our viewers with the today's topic of the session.
Yes, thank you, Simran. For the viewers, I would like to introduce the topic. Today we will be talking about the significance of leadership for school transformation. And as you know, the main mandate of the National Center for School Leadership has been to empower the school principals so that they are able to lead their schools and convert their schools into centers of excellence. So in this regard, we, the faculty of NCSL, we have networked and collaborated with many school principals across the country. And as you know that NEP, the NEP 2020 policy has the policy priority of improving the quality of education in schools. And in this regard, our mandate has been to empower the school principals to transform their schools and lead them into centers of excellence. So I was saying that we have interacted with so many school heads, and today we will be bringing you certain cases from the field. We would like me and Dr. Charu Malik together. So I would like to delve a little deeper into the topic and also certain policy priorities of NEP. And following which we will be discussing the curriculum of school leadership that has been developed by NCSL, and under each key area we will be discussing the case studies which we have received from the school principals and they have shared with us. So moving on.
Thank you for providing those details to all our viewers, and in the conversation viewers, if you have any of the queries, then feel free to comment to us in the comment section of NCRT Official. We have two resource persons who have connected with us from the studio. They'll be more than happy to take all your queries. So ma'am, today in the conversation as we are discussing about leading school transformation.
Yes.
So I would request you to please inform our viewers what is your idea of leadership regarding school transformation.
Okay. So, significance of school leadership, like looking at the context of the Indian school education scenario, we have the situation is that there is an increased enrollment and retention and access in schools, but the quality of education has remained a priority and has remained a challenge. So school principals have taken this as a challenge to improve the quality of schools, and NEP 2020 has also focused on improving quality with emphasis on equity and inclusion. And it has the policy has emphasized the role of school principals in transforming the schools, and which would require, and with emphasis on pedagogical leadership, this leadership for improving student learning. So this would require a shift of focus. Now, if this has to happen, this transformation has to happen, this would require a shift from a focus from the system level interventions to focus on the school level interventions, like school as a unit. That is how we need to focus on, so that we are able to improve the quality of schools. Next slide, Charu. So as of now, school heads are more administrators than leaders. And as we already know that school improvement has a lot of impact on the context in which it is situated, and we have always in our sessions we have talked about the various contexts in which certain schools exist. This context may be multiple, which includes the political context, the social context, certain economic, religious, cultural aspects of the society, which has a lot of impact on the school and also the leadership. So context definitely matters, it cannot be ignored. So when we are talking about transformation, we have to take the context also into consideration. And yeah, so we would like to talk also about the challenges to school leadership. So within the context, the challenges are innumerable, and from our interactions with the school principals, where we do capacity building for them, we have come, they tell us a lot of challenges that they are facing, relating it to improving the learning in their schools, which includes a lack of teachers. It is a very important area that needs consideration. Lack of subject teachers. So many schools do not have science teachers, and many schools do not have mathematics teachers, and of course the other areas like art and physical education, etc. So lack of teachers is a big challenge in the attempt of school leaders to transform their schools. Lack of infrastructure is another area that needs consideration. And there is always a reference to the school children going to private schools. The parents prefer the children going to private schools rather than the government schools. So the enrollment of children in government schools is also a question. And many a times the parents and the communities, mostly the parents are daily wage workers. So they may not understand the purpose of education, the importance and significance of education. So they may hesitate to send their children to schools. So that is another area of issue or challenge. And lack of technology. Many schools in remote areas, they do not have access to technology. And learning outcomes. So when there is a huge, when there is increased dropout and increased migration of children based on their parents' movement, the learning outcome, there's a big learning gap that comes in in schools. So this is also another issue. And as I said, absenteeism and dropout is indeed a huge problem. And one area that needs consideration is a lack of support from the educational administrators and academic support from the educational administrators. So these are the challenges to school leadership, and in spite of all that, how the school principals, they navigate through these issues, and in spite of that transform their schools, is something that both me and Charu will be talking about in the next.
So now we have understood about the significance of school leadership. At the same time, what are the challenges that are faced by school leaders? So it is also very important for us to understand about how school leaders should be. What are the attributes, the characteristics that they should exhibit? So Charu ma'am, please help us with that.
Yes, so I think what Dr. Subita has just explained and put forward is the innumerable challenges that exist in front of the school system today. And these challenges also get compounded considering the diversity of contexts that the school is placed in. In fact, we were just talking how there are so many schools which are in dense forest areas, or even desert areas, or border areas, or areas that are affected by left-wing extremism. So you have schools in all different capacities and diversities and contexts. So there are challenges that are emerging from the context, as well as there are challenges that are emerging from the absence or lack of so many resources within the school. So it is a complex issue for each school, and each school has its unique set of problems and a unique set of solutions that only the school leadership team can find out together. So in this sense, if we look at the school leadership development program, it has really gone leaps and bounds ahead. And there are many school heads who have come in contact with us, who have exhibited exemplary attributes, which we can term as the leadership attributes, and they have been able to overcome many of these challenges and find very, very innovative solutions to these contexts, and they have been able to bring a 360-degree transformation in the school, positively impacting the learning outcomes of students and student well-being in its entirety. So if you look at a few of the attributes that we have culled out from the field, the first one is of course proactivity, being proactive is really the first step to becoming a leader. If you are faced by any challenge, or if you are faced in a complex situation, what kind of action do you take? What kind of initiatives do you take, and with what mindset? Second is of course resilience. That's an important attribute to have in adverse situations. So resilience is your ability to be at it for a long time, and of course motivating the entire stakeholder network to keep on working for the school. Teamwork, of course, and we see a lot of teamwork happening, especially in rural areas also, where the schools are collaborating a lot with the community and the village stakeholders. Inclusivity, yes, because diversity is a strength, and there are many schools which have a very diverse student population, and not just a student population, but a teacher, staff is also diverse. So how do they bring about inclusivity in the work culture of the school, as well as in the learning outcomes? So normally we have heard, that children with special needs would probably lag behind in learning levels. But these school leaders have shown resilience and hard work, so that every child is actually achieving learning outcomes as per the child's age and the grade. A lot of school leaders have also exhibited self-belief, a high self-concept, a high self-esteem, and then it has translated into self-confidence for themselves as well as for others. Empathy, of course, in difficult circumstances, one needs to be very, very empathetic to each and every child and to each and every stakeholder, because in most of these cases, the emotional intelligence and social intelligence is much more required than anything else. So they have been very, very empathetic. They have had a very democratic approach, and they have also role modeled many, many attributes that have really positively impacted the village community and the parents. And what Dr. Subita was talking about, a major challenge has been, that many of the enrollment in many of the schools is declining. But many of these school leaders who are innovative, inspirers, they have brought back the enrollment back into the government schools. And now people are actually taking their wards back from the private school and then enrolling them in these government schools. So these are some very significant attributes that have come out from
Thank you
our
for sharing
experience.
these leadership attributes with all our viewers, and I'm pretty sure all the viewers watching our session, they'll keep a note of all these attributes, because I think they are not only important for a school leader but also for an individual to excel in their lives. Proceeding ahead in the conversation, Subita ma'am, we have also heard about school leadership curriculum.
Yes.
So please provide us more insights about what this curriculum is all about.
Okay, so the National Center for School Leadership has developed a contextualized curriculum which at the national level, and I think this is the first time a curriculum on school leadership has been developed. So I would like to mention the key areas that is part of the curriculum.
Of course.
The key area 1 is on perspectives on school leadership. Key area 2 is on developing a leading self, and key area 3 is on transforming teaching learning process. Key area 4 is building and leading teams. Key area 5 is on leading innovations. Key area 6 is on building partnership, and key area 7 is on leading at school administration. So these are 7 key areas, and each key area has its own in-depth conceptual themes that discusses about the entire curriculum. So we in the next few minutes, based on each key area, we will be discussing the cases from the field which we have received from the school heads, and we would like to share what are their effort to transform their schools under each of these key areas. So this there are innumerable cases, but we are talking only very limited best practices of school principles. So moving on, the first
is the
on,
perspective on school leadership.
I think Charu can discuss on that.
And moreover, I think this is a good platform for our viewers to also know that we have been continuously upgrading the curriculum framework key area topics and sub-themes, and they are available as the updated taxonomy on the NCSL website. If you go to the ncsl.nipa.ac.in website, you would be able to search for the taxonomy on school leadership development, which is also uploaded on the Diksha platform. And there have been many more areas that have come about in the past few years that are of significance in the context of school leadership, and they have been uploaded and upgraded in the taxonomy. So if we move on to the curricular areas that have been just shared by Dr. Subita, the first one is on perspective on school leadership. And I think the single most determinant for improving the entire school is the quality of the vision statement that a school leader develops along with other stakeholders. Now here, I think the success of the school leaders in the field have really depended on how many stakeholders the school leader has been able to bring together to create a vision that is based on student learning and student competency.
What we call the shared vision.
What we call the shared and the collaborative vision, you know. And I think that has really impacted a change in the field, you know, because each stakeholder feels welcomed in the school, be it the SMC member, the members of the school management committee, or the parents, or the alumni, or any other face that is known in the village or in the urban areas. The whole idea is to bring as many people as possible so that the level of ownership is increased.
And accountability also.
And of course accountability, you know, because many of the school leaders might feel, you know, that we can do it within the four walls of the school. But then it would not improve the ownership, and they might be fearful of the incoming accountability if you include too many people. But such leaders are fearless, and they have been able to create a very strong network and develop a very collaborative vision. So that is one. And they have also been engaged in a continuous process of professional development of their own self and others. They have made student learning and learning outcomes as the center stage in the vision statement. And tirelessly, every single activity that takes place in the school is linked with the student learning agenda. And of course, now there are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of government schools which are digitized. They have smart labs, they have ICT labs, and they have fully functional computer laboratories.
With support from the State Education Department.
Yes, with support from the State Education Department as well as with support from CSR and from the community as well.
Right.
So now students in the government secondary schools or higher secondary schools are actually taking up vocational courses and getting into so many other areas which were not thought of earlier. So I think this is something that has come about in the perspective. And of course, you know, making this culture as an inclusive school culture has been a priority among school leaders.
Yeah.
And next we go to developing self.
Yes.
That is the next key area of the curriculum. And such leaders who have worked very positively in the field and created impact, the real impact, they are very developed in their own personalities. They have strong personalities, and they are able to role model certain attributes. And the good thing is that others are able to imbibe those attributes. And even the students are very articulate. They are communicative once they see their leader as communicative and articulate. So this is something that has happened, you know, that a leader, if he or she is aware of her own strengths or his own strengths, then that has an impact, a positive impact on other stakeholders. And they have a very strong sense of service. I think that again comes from the field. A very strong sense of service that is selfless,
Right.
and passionate.
Yeah.
And there are many school leaders who will be working beyond the office hours and relentlessly figuring out what could be the strategies for improving student learning, and what could be the strategies for including every child into the schooling processes. So they have a very strong sense of selfless service. And in fact, I'm reminded of
certain beliefs and values they hold, and one of the key belief I've realized they hold is that every child can learn.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And they stand by that. So it's,
Yes.
it's a beautiful thing to hear from them that in spite of, you know, sometimes there is nothing in the school. There's no infrastructure, the basic electricity, drinking water. But in spite of that, they see to it that each child reaches a particular learning outcome in their schools.
Right. And I'm reminded of the concept of servant leadership. And some of the leaders actually quote that we are servants to the children. Yes. So I think that has been, and of course creating a very positive professional work culture in the schools, you know, where positivity is enhanced, you know, and positivity is encouraged. I think that has also been another self-attribute of these successful leaders in our Indian scenario. Would you like to take up the next key area?
So the next key area is on transforming a teaching learning process. So this, if we are going by the by what NEP would emphasize on improving student learning. So I think this is a rather core of core area of where there is a transformation required, and school heads. For transforming teaching learning process, the areas that needs emphasis and areas that needs interventions would be the pedagogy that is employed in the schools, the teachers' professional development. These are two areas that needs emphasis and that needs consideration. So transforming teaching learning process, like as I said, in spite of lack of resources and lack of basic requirements in the school, school heads and teachers have gone beyond the immediate challenges that is right in front of them and created innovations in teaching learning process. And one innovation, like certain case studies that I would like to talk about is, I think we have discussed in the live streaming sessions, in the previous sessions also, is on like for example a rock garden which one of the school heads from Odisha had developed in spite of lack of a proper road that leads to his school. So he had converted the entire school into a learning place. So whatever areas he could see, like whether it is the rocks or if it is the boundary wall, he has ensured that there is learning there. And if it is a herbal garden that he has made, he's ensured that there is learning there. So basic things that is available to the school principals, they convert it into a learning opportunity for the school children, because that is all that they have. So I remember one school principal saying that see, children from government schools, you have to deal with the fact that most of them come from the marginalized communities. So school is the only place where there is learning. Once they go back to their homes, there is no learning happening there, because the situation there doesn't contribute to a learning environment. So the school heads are aware of this, and they give their maximum support to a child in the school so that there is learning there, which includes remedial teaching and learning with support from the school teachers also. So some of the areas of innovation, I would say, in teaching learning processes is through songs and action, etc., where children are taught certain concepts. Then there are school principals who would like to teach the culture and give emphasis to certain beliefs and values and certain culture that is prevalent in their community by asking children to bring food from their homes. And there's a lot of learning in that, which I think in a few sessions back we had discussed, like the school principal realized that some children have meager food,
Yes.
So that when you say empathy, so it takes a lot of interest and a lot of passion for the school principal to check all these details of a child, the background and from where he or she is coming. And when during the process of sharing, she says that there's a lot of learning that happened, which includes the kind of food that is nutritious for you, and even the local place, what is the best food that you can have, and what does the other child bring and what do you bring, etc. So what I'm trying to say here is, it need not be a external learning environment that you impose on the child. So what is available locally, how do you use that and create a learning environment? So that is a challenge for the school principals, and which they usually do it so beautifully. And they organize science fairs and street plays, etc. And street plays, I would say, like there are certain contexts where there are certain culture of there are social issues of superstition, child marriage, etc. So through the street plays, how children have been empowered to deal with these social issues. So these are the things, and neighborhood visits, like going to banks and factories and markets, and there also there is learning happening. So integrated, the local needs and like context-based learning, I would say, which I think the school heads are giving to their children. And this is exceptional.
And in fact, now since you're discussing, I remember of one of the school principals who's leading a senior secondary school in Rajasthan, and she has been a biology teacher.
Okay.
And she had created, when she became the school principal, she created a herbal garden and a botanical garden in her school premises. And that had a very strong impact on the girls' educations. Normally girls, mostly they drop out before even reaching the secondary schooling. And it had a very positive impact on the enrollment of the girl students and their transition into the secondary schooling. So she had been, a lot of women leaders are also a role model for girl students. And there are so many, right, as you said, there's so many methodologies that the school principal and teachers can employ to improve the learning outcomes, which are over and above the textbook.
Exactly.
So as you said, just connecting with the local environment, with the intermediate environment, and how that is integrated into the schooling processes. So I just visited an amazing secondary school in district Baramulla of Jammu and Kashmir, and there we could see exhibitions of art, science, and vocational stream, where students were able to
Doing
articulate
something,
what they have done, and how art integrated education is a common feature in the school, or they have been involved in sports as well, and they have a good playground. So I think there are so many multiple methodologies that can be employed in improving the learning teaching processes in the school. In fact, in one of the class 11th, there was a session that was going on in English language, and the teacher was transacting certain works of Vikram Seth, a prominent novelist in India, and so the students were able to also articulate, that how many books or how many kind of poetry that he had authored, and they were able to read such fluent English, and so it is not the image that we have of a government school, that is kind of changing continuously and progressing into a newer India. So and the principals are really the change makers behind all of these.
They have the vision.
They have the vision, and they know where they want to take the entire student community. So I think that is something which is coming out really positively from the field.
And most importantly, children feel important,
Yes.
and they have the opportunity for developing aspirations.
Right.
These kind of things builds aspiration. They want to do something. So, and coming from a highly marginalized home background, so imagine the impact these things have on the individual child. So it's amazing, actually.
Yes, and I think also with the implementation of Nipun Bharat now, many government schools have started implementing the preschool. And when you were talking about nutritional levels, right at the very beginning, how to address the nutritional aspects of children and how to address their learning needs.
Yeah.
And
it's all related,
it's
the
all
physical
related.
development and emotional.
Right. So a lot of emphasis has come on foundational learning and how that really impacts the child's progression into the higher grades. So now school principals are actually looking at it in a very holistic fashion as well, in a comprehensive fashion, that how a child would learn through different ages and then bloom into an adult and lead a productive life. So they're really looking at the entire child's trajectory of learning progress.
And interventions required at different stages.
At different stages.
Right.
So, yeah.
So moving on, the next key areas on building and leading teams, and this area is leading a team in a school. So again, when we are talking about having a vision and having a shared vision, so the biggest teammate, I would say, for a school principal are their teachers.
Correct.
So the school heads, they take they give a lot of importance to the teachers, and some, especially the women teachers, have said that how they empathize with the women school principals have said how they empathize with the teachers, especially in difficult circumstances. So like when they come late, they help the teachers to adjust to the new environment, etc. So leading teams, like there are a lot of instances where a school principal has made this deliberate shift from working in silos to break that silos and interact with their teachers and bring them all together and work together to lead that to reach that vision or the goal. So different cases that we have seen is, for example, having a committee, multiple teams that operate as committees. There are alumni associations, then there are student teams, there are the youth clubs and forums which kind of empowers, they are empowering agents, and there are the Rotary clubs which come and they do a lot of activities in the schools. And there also the staff meeting as a platform for team learning. So learning as a team and learning to deal with the differences among themselves. So all this goes into leadership for effective school transformation. So how as a school principal you're able to build and lead a team. So
right, and in PLCs, of course, developing professional learning communities of teachers, how they're able to problem solve together, and how are they able to share practices that are effective and not so effective, so that collaboratively solutions can be found out. And in fact, I think one of the most important aspects of team building has been that the leaders actually believe that it is not just them who are working, it is they are working through a team of teachers. So every teacher needs to be enabled. Every teacher needs to be capacitated in the school if any real positive change is expected. It is not just one school principal, but it's the entire teaching community who works together and who individually is capacitated to be able to lead the learning teaching processes. So in fact, schools that have actually turned around in a positive direction, the entire team has worked for it, not just one person. So I think that becomes important. Then the next is about leading innovations.
Leading innovations, I think we have talked about a lot of areas where school heads have tried to bring about a change, and under this I would like to talk about the pink room which one of the school principals had mentioned to us. So how she empowers the school principals, empowers the teachers, the children. So I think I need a break.
Yes. So I think, this was basically for the retention of girl students in the school. And she had done this innovation in one of the secondary schools in Maharashtra. So that was a very important innovation which actually impacted the retention and enrollment of students. Then of course, building as learning aid has been a very successful initiative. The organization of Bal Sabha or Bal Sansad, these are some of the leading innovations in many government schools in the country. And of course, how to use technology as an aid for learning teaching process, that also comes under the idea of innovations. And in fact, there was one school from Gujarat which had also come for the live session, where students take decisions together, where the school needs to go, what do they want to learn, how do they want to improve their learning levels. So where students really are at the center stage, so student leadership becomes again a critical area which can be initiated through innovations. That is the fifth one. And the sixth key area is about partnerships, where we have talked about how schools collaborate with industries for vocationalization of education, with CSRs, with school management committees, villages and community members. In fact, most of the government schools who have turned around in the rural areas especially has happened only because of the community support. So that is about leading partnerships. And the last curricular area that we have covered is about leading school administration. And in fact, we get reminded of one of our participants in the 1-month certificate program from government senior secondary school in Jharkhand. And he has been able to create the entire school database, based on the student records, the teacher records, and the student achievement records of the entire school, the student population. Because he is ICT enabled. So being abreast with all the updates in the field of administration and leadership is a plus point for successful leaders. And they are able to create a positive work culture and able to take the school forward with a well-defined shared vision. This is about the last curricular area, and most of these school leaders are actually using evidence-based decision making as an important parameter for improving the school.
Well, I must say that those are praiseworthy examples from your end, the cases from the field that you have shared with all our viewers. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Charu Malik ma'am, also Subita ma'am. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation and apprising our viewers more about what goes into school leadership and development. And I'm pretty sure you all have learned a lot from this session. Do write to us in the comment section about your views, your messages, and your feedback for our sessions. Now it's time for me to wrap up this particular session, but stay connected to NCERT. Keep watching PM eVidya channels. You can also watch the repeat telecast of all our sessions. Thank you so much. Stay connected to NCERT Official. Namaskar.